Index funds sound like one of those finance terms that adults throw around to sound responsible. Like, oh yeah, my money's in index funds. As if everyone automatically knows what that means. But if you've ever heard the phrase and thought, okay, what even is an index fund? Don't worry, you're not behind. This is one of the simplest concepts in investing, and once it clicks, you'll wonder why it ever sounded complicated. Today, we're going to explain index funds like you're 12. No jargon, no confusing charts, just the easiest way to understand what they are, why people love them, and why they might be one of the smartest ways to build wealth over time. Let's start with the stock market. When you buy a stock, you're buying a tiny piece of one company. So if you buy Apple stock, you're betting that Apple will grow. If you buy Tesla, you're betting Tesla will do well. If you buy Amazon, you're betting Amazon keeps making money. That's fine, but here's the problem. Picking individual companies is risky. Companies can fail, they can have bad years, they can get replaced by something better. Even great companies can crash. And unless you have a crystal ball, it's really hard to know which companies will be the winners 10 or 20 years from now. Think about it like this. 20 years ago, some of the biggest companies in the world were completely different. Some businesses that seemed unstoppable back then don't even exist anymore. So the idea that the average person can consistently pick the perfect winning stock is, honestly, unrealistic. So instead of trying to pick the one best company, what if you could just buy a little piece of all the companies at once? That's the basic idea behind an index fund. An index fund is like a giant basket, and inside that basket are hundreds, sometimes thousands of different companies. Instead of putting all your money into one stock, you spread it across the entire market. Here's a simple way to picture it. Imagine your school has a sports league. You could bet all your money on one team winning the championship, or you could bet on the entire league. That way, no matter which team wins, you still win, because you owned a piece of all of them. That's what an index fund does. It doesn't try to guess which company will be the next superstar. It just owns them all. The word index is important. An index is basically a list. The S&P 500 is an index. It's a list of about 500 of the biggest companies in America. Companies like Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Coca-Cola, and hundreds more. When you buy an S&P 500 index fund, you're buying a piece of all 500 companies in that list. It's like owning a slice of the entire US economy. And that's powerful because over long periods of time, the economy tends to grow. Companies innovate, people buy things, technology improves, productivity rises, and the market goes up. Not every day, not every year, but over decades. Historically, it has grown. That's why index funds are so popular. They're simple, diversified, and they work. Now, one of the biggest misunderstandings people have is thinking that investing means you have to be a genius. Like you need to watch financial news all day, study charts, and predict what stock will explode next. But professional investors try that every single day, with teams of analysts and massive budgets, and most of them still fail to beat the market over the long run. In fact, the majority of actively managed funds, where experts pick stocks for you, don't outperform simple index funds once you account for fees. Which is kind of crazy because it means the average person doing something boring and simple often beats the professionals. That's the beauty of index funds. Instead of trying to beat the market, you become the market. And for most people, that's the smartest strategy. Another reason index funds are so powerful is fees. Every investment has some cost. If you hire someone to manage your money, they charge a percentage every year. It might sound small, like 1%, but 1% over 30 years can cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. Index funds are cheap because they don't need a team of experts picking stocks. They just follow the index automatically. So instead of paying high fees, you keep more of your returns. And over time, keeping more of your money makes a huge difference. Imagine you're at a pizza party. Buying one stock is like picking one slice and hoping it's the best slice. Buying an index fund is like taking a bite of every slice. You don't need to guess which one is best, you just enjoy the whole pizza. Because you're spread out, one bad slice doesn't ruin the meal. That's diversification. Diversification is just a fancy word for not putting all your eggs in one basket, and index funds do that automatically. If one company drops, it doesn't destroy your investment, because you own hundreds of others. Some people hear this and think, if index funds are so good, why would anyone do anything else? The answer is excitement. Picking individual stocks feels exciting, like you might hit it big. Index funds feel boring. But boring is good in investing. Boring is how you win. The stock market rewards patience, not adrenaline. Index funds are like the slow, steady path. They're not flashy, they're not a lottery ticket. They're a wealth-building machine. So how do you actually start? The good news is you don't need thousands of dollars. Most brokerages let you invest with as little as $50 or $100. You open an account, you choose an index fund, and then you contribute consistently. That's the key. Index funds work best when you treat them like a long-term habit, not a short-term gamble. You invest every month even when the market feels scary. You ignore the noise. You don't panic when the market dips, because dips are normal. The market goes down sometimes. That's not a flaw, that's part of the process. Think of it like riding a bike up a hill. There are bumps and drops, but the long-term direction is upward. The biggest mistake beginners make is checking their investments every day. Because the market is messy in the short term. It's emotional and unpredictable. But zoom out far enough and it becomes a growth story. That's why index funds are so often recommended for retirement accounts like 401s, Ks, and IRAs. Retirement investing isn't about getting rich overnight. It's about building wealth slowly over decades. Now let's talk about the real magic, compound growth. Compound growth is when your money earns returns, and then those returns earn returns, and then those returns earn returns. It's like planting a tree. At first, nothing seems to happen. But years later, it's huge. That's why starting early matters more than starting big. Someone investing a little at 25 can end up with more than someone investing a lot at 40. Time is the secret ingredient. Index funds give you a way to harness that time without needing to be a stock-picking genius. So if you take nothing else from this video, remember this. An index fund is just a simple way to own a tiny piece of the entire market. It's diversified, low-cost, beginner-friendly, and over the long run, historically, it has been one of the most reliable ways to build wealth. You don't need to predict the future. You don't need to chase hype. You don't need to beat Wall Street. You just need consistency, because boring investing done for a long time becomes extraordinary. If this video helped make index funds finally click, make sure to subscribe to Brandon Invests for more simple finance videos that break down money, investing, and how to build real financial freedom. And I'll see you in the next one.